Welcome back, people. Lateness is greatness. You already know what time it is. Welcome back into the building. And I can see the chat already. Someone saying this is getting out of hand. It is, okay? It is getting out of hand. I need to step it up. The slogan has got a hold of me. It's got this out of me. I need to step it up. Even 1 minute late, I can still run the slogan. But big up to everybody in the chat. We're joined by Olivia and Jenny. I think Olivia's been on here before. Jenny, this is your debut. So how are you? How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm excited to be talking to you guys. I've seen your stuff. You guys are always super energetic, super knowledgeable. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And Olivia, how are you doing? Second time back on. How have you been?
Yeah, really, really good. Enjoying football again, enjoying life. And yeah, just it just feels good now, doesn't it? Where everyone seems to be just really positive about football, especially Chelsea fans. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to, delving a little bit deeper into Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea. Yeah,
exactly. I think really the icing on the cake now that we've got a really good run of form, we're going through in all competitions. The only thing missing is the fans. I just think back to that Atletico game where we won 2-0. If there was fans in the ground, that would have been incredible. I don't know if you guys remember Reece James's long shot as well against Brighton. That needed fans as well. There's moments in the season where you just think, damn, that really needed fans. I mean, before we get into the details of Tuchel and obviously yesterday's game, just what games have you guys been to and standout games, I would say, that like you really enjoyed covering if you was either at the ground or reporting on it? What kind of games are standing out to you guys? Because for me, it's Ajax. Definitely Ajax. If you was there.
Chelsea, are we talking Chelsea games?
Yeah, definitely Chelsea games, yeah. I know you was at the Leeds game the other day.
Yeah, you know what? And it was actually a really good game. Like, I mean, the last time I went to Fulham, it was 0-0 and boring. And I was just like, oh my God. But this game, I mean, whenever Leeds are involved, you're going to get a good game. So it was actually a really, really good game. In terms, are we talking this season?
No, we won't do this season because this season we haven't even been able to go to grounds that much. I would just say any Chelsea game that you've gone to where the atmosphere's just been ridiculous has stood out.
Do you know, the one that stands out to me is Barcelona, the year that they knocked us out.
Oh, no.
But when we won, and it was so frustrating when we played so well. And I've never heard an atmosphere like, you get like those whole, like, Premier League home games or like even just English teams when you're the home fans, it's not necessarily great, it's quiet, all that. This was genuinely the first time where I thought, wow, like it was electric in there. And it was the game where we were so good. Willian scored a great goal, 1-0 up, and then Christensen gave the ball away to Messi and then Messi scored the first goal against us, and I was just like, but the atmosphere, we deserved to win that game. The atmosphere inside the ground is one I think that will always stand out to me, like hands down. And of course, sorry, Jenny, I'll let you talk in a minute. Just one
second. No, go.
Atletico Madrid away in the group game when Michy Batshuayi.
You went to that?
Yeah.
That must have been mad.
I can't even, thinking about it now, like to win a game, like with the last kick of the game anyway, but to be away, first game in their new stadium, like it's giving me shivers just thinking about it. Like, remember the whole trip was amazing, but to be in the ground for that was pretty special.
It was wild. I can't lie. Jenny, what games have you been to? Because obviously lockdown now, so you're covering from America as well. So I mean, I guess did you get to go to that game, that friendly that we had in America?
No, I've never been to a Chelsea match live. Never.
Have you not?
So Olivia, keep going. I haven't.
God.
So I started working for Chelsea in September, and we've been in lockdown ever since. And I live in America, so I haven't.
Because I saw you got. Did you get like a stadium tour?
Yeah. I got to go, but because of COVID, I didn't get to go to the match. I mean, there was a Champions League match, I think, while I was there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go because of all these restrictions, and it was. I've never been. So Olivia, you can keep telling your stories.
Jenny, from following you on Twitter, you have been to some. Even if you haven't been to Chelsea games, you've been all around Europe covering the Champions League on CBS. So you will have been to some amazing stadiums that none of us will have been to, like definitely. But those two Chelsea games are the ones that stand out for me because I didn't really go back. Back when you were in the Champions League and stuff like that, I didn't really go to Stamford Bridge as much then. But more recently, they're the two that stand out for me. And of course, are you talking 4-4 Ajax, that one, or are you talking 1-0 away? Which one were you saying, Matisse? Which one?
The Ajax one was the 4-4 at home.
The 4-4. I was there for that as well. And that
he fell off the terrace. That was.
I just remember hugging people that I don't know. Like I was standing next to
guys. It was one of those ones.
Yeah, you just like when that fourth goal went in. I just remember just like in like a huddle with both of them. But that was definitely up there as well. We've been lucky. That
is like I said. That's the only thing that we're missing currently from this run that we're on. Like, it's such a good run. It just needs fans. And I thought to myself, when Thomas Tuchel came in, before we talk about yesterday's game, that not having fans might have helped him, because I felt like when Lampard left and then Thomas Tuchel coming in, that was, quite hard on a lot of the fans. The match goers definitely would have felt that as well, even more. And I felt like him not having fans there probably helped him just to focus on the game. Yeah. But now that he's in a good run and he's very charismatic, I don't know, obviously from a media perspective, you guys will probably even notice that even more, his body language, what he says in the interviews and things like that. He probably would be an absolute dream to interview when you get the chance. I feel like he's ready for the fans now, and the fans are ready for him as well, definitely at the ground. He's very charismatic and whatnot.
Do you know what my worry is that it's not a worry, but Chelsea fans never got the chance to say goodbye to Frank Lampard in the way that we should have got the chance to sing his name and stuff like that. So my worry is that, the people that go to Stamford Bridge, the people that will be in Stamford Bridge for the first time, whenever that may be, my worry is that you might have Thomas Tuchel standing on the touchline, but the fans singing Frank Lampard's name. Yeah. And maybe it's something that just needs to happen once just to get it out the way, just so the fans have made their point clear and they know they would still back Frank Lampard. Yeah. And then sort of move on from that completely. But just because fans haven't got the chance to, I feel like that might be something that happens. And it's almost not fair to Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah, it might overlap.
Yeah, but only maybe a little bit. But definitely, I'm sure he would love fans in there now. Definitely, because
I would say so. I mean, I remember when they had the banner as well, but they didn't quite. That had to come down as well.
I think that was just for one game though, and I thought that was quite nice. The game after he got sacked, like you just show your support, because that was the only way we really could. And then after that, they said out of respect for Thomas Tuchel, obviously it's going to come down. I thought that was quite a nice way to go about it.
Yeah, it was a nice touch, and even in his first press conference as well, he mentioned Frank Lampard and had a conversation and everything as well. Just to go first of all into the game as well.
Wait, I just want to say something.
Yeah.
Olivia, since you're at the matches, do you think that it's really helped Thomas Tuchel to not have fans, to be able to tell his players exactly what he's looking for, and for them to be able to hear him? He is such a, tactical, minded coach that him transmitting his message has been way easier without the noise of the fans.
I think so. I think that it almost works in two ways, I think. And I think that has worked wonders for him. In other cases, it maybe hasn't, because he's been shouting at Timo Werner in German and people are translating it, knowing what he's saying, so you can hear it really clearly. But on the other hand, I think so. And it's been such an insight as to, Thomas Tuchel. I put my hands up. I didn't really know much about Thomas Tuchel before he joined Chelsea. Obviously, knew Dortmund and PSG, but you don't know much unless you watch European football consistently. You're not going to know too much about him. And I've loved that. And even just, not even Chelsea, but just, you'll know, Jenny, being in a ground behind closed doors, you can hear absolutely everything. And it's the most surreal thing to just hear what the referee's saying, hear what the players are saying, the manager. It's so bizarre. But I think you're completely right. That has, in a way, helped Thomas Tuchel. And I think even to now until the end of the season, I think not he'll enjoy having no fans there, but I think they've got used to it now. And I think this last stretch of the season, having fans back could almost be an advantage to some, I would say Liverpool, and a disadvantage to others. So I think from now until the season, he's probably just quite enjoying, going about his ways on the touchline. You can hear everything he says, and then we go again sort of next season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite weird when fans come back, because like you said, they might actually be used to it now as well. And all the instructions and the leadership that he's shown from the sidelines, like you said, Jenny, he's very vocal. So that in itself is now going to be something that maybe when the fans come back, the atmosphere is going to probably be even better than it was at Stamford Bridge. I remember going to Stamford Bridge games and the atmosphere, like you said, home Premier League games, it's a little bit down. It's not really as good as it should be. Now when fans come back, potentially the stadium atmosphere should be electric, because everybody should miss the game. So in terms of instructions, I hope he's getting through his philosophy while he can, kind of thing, because on the pitch, they're not going to get such a helping hand. But on to yesterday's game, Jenny, I'll start with you. What did you make of it in total? Because it was actually more nerve-wracking than the Atletico Madrid game in midweek, which I found astonishing, but at the same time kind of understandable, because that was Sheffield United's be all and end all of the season, wasn't it?
Right.
If they didn't get anything, which they didn't out of that game, now they're out. That's it. Their season's basically done because they're basically relegated. What did you make of it?
Well, I honestly felt like a lot of people on social media weren't talking about how Sheffield had multiple chances to score and take the game. I mean, there was, I think, a 60th minute header that he like barely misses, and then there's a 90th minute. That shot, I was worried. If they put that in, that's a completely different game, and we could potentially lose that. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, 2-0 win." You know, I don't follow all of Chelsea fans, but 2-0 win, like up, you know, just super positive about Chelsea. But I was thinking, I mean, Sheffield could have had that a game changes on a dime, and they had the opportunity to change that momentum. So, like you said, a little bit more worrisome than that Atletico Madrid game. I think that in those games, Chelsea was superior. You could tell that they, you know, were fighting for each other, and they were super strong as a team and mentality-wise. And yesterday, I didn't feel great about it. I wasn't thinking, we have this in the bag and I can relax like in the Atletico match.
Yeah. Olivia, what did you make of it? Because Jenny's right. There was times where we could have conceded. That 1-0 lead was looking very ropey. I remember McGoldrick had a header that just went past the post. And
Your sound just cut out.
Yeah,
but Vodafone always call me while I'm on stream. I don't know why. that's just become almost a sign that I'm streaming, I guess, when Vodafone ring me. But yeah, the header from McGoldrick just went past the post, and it was a tap in basically from the distance that he was out. He really should have scored, but I don't know. It's just we conceded a lot of chances that game.
Yeah, like Jenny's completely right. After the game, all I saw on social media was everyone being positive, and I actually tweeted just being like 2-0 through to the semi-final, but Sheffield United were the better side, and to me, they deserve to win. I don't think we did enough to warrant a 2-0 victory. It flattered us massively, but you know, you've got to ride your luck. You can't. You're not going to win every game like 4-0, 3-0 and play really well. You're just not. That just doesn't happen. And I almost thought David McGoldrick was going to score because he only ever scores against Chelsea. But they had chances, and Kepa had to make more saves than Aaron Ramsdale. And I was just like, I wasn't disappointed because these players haven't played together. Like he made another 4 or 5 changes, and it's difficult to sort of get into rhythm when and it does keep chopping and changing. But I just think the level of performance that Sheffield United had, I think especially in the second half, we didn't match that at all. And on paper, the players we have are much better than the players that Sheffield United had, but they just worked harder yesterday. And listen, we take it, we move on. We're into an FA Cup semi-final. It doesn't matter. We just got to react in our next game, obviously after the international break. And if we win that, then it's fine. But you just don't want like another performance like that. It was fine under Tuchel because we've been playing really well and winning loads of games, but you don't want that to become a regular thing. And I don't think it will be. I think that was just a one-off. Yeah,
part of me feels like the international break came at a good time as well. Despite all the wins racking up, there is I feel like these players have not had much rest over the last year. Obviously, the Euros is coming up this summer as well. We know the 2 seasons, last season to this season, was quite congested as well. And the fact that there was a very short turnover there. They've always had either an international break or European games sandwiched into these weeks as well. So there's not really been any time for them to rest. And I think the players that are not going on international break, like Azpilicueta and a few others as well, they probably could do with this rest. But before we get into just overall Thomas Tuchel's time in charge, and obviously just what the strengths and weaknesses of his management has been for Chelsea, and obviously the Chelsea squad as well. Zion says here, man like tricky Thomas Tuchel, you know, big up everyone on the panel. Thank you so much, bro. And let me see here. But we need to remember we made 7 changes in the starting 11, 100%. It was a very mixed starting 11. There wasn't much chemistry. Jenny, from that game, any standout performance that you would say potentially of players that are knocking on the door to be potentially more involved that you were impressed with in that game?
Well, I'm American, so I am happy about Christian Pulisic getting time, and I think he had really good moments. I think it's going to take him some time to put the ball in the back of the net, which, like you said, maybe the international break will help because he will get playing time with the U.S. national team that he does need more of. And hopefully start a rhythm of getting goals in. Once you notch one in, you'll be more likely to score some more. So I'm happy to see that. I thought his little snake move between 3 defenders was pretty standout, worthy of any highlight reel. and I wish he would have finished that, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think I kind of want to ask you guys. Chilwell was involved in both goals. We've seen a lot of Marcos Alonso. Like, what happens there? Where would you go?
Chilwell had a very good game. Like, I don't like to look at stats unless it's to back up what I already felt. But he was winning all the aerial duels when I was watching the game. He got 2 assists, and I thought to myself, let me look at his stats, and they were just as good. You know, the stats backed up everything I saw. So I don't know. I feel like that left wing back position is quite strange because we've got potentially 3 players that could play there. Emerson as well. He obviously got the goal in midweek with his only touch against Atletico Madrid. But nobody's really like penciled that position down. I keep saying to myself that I feel like Chilwell has to because of how much he cost and the fact that he's meant to be the first teamer. But I don't know how you feel, Olivia. Do you feel like he needs to take that role and take it as a first teamer, or do you think rotation kind of suits them?
I don't think I've seen like a performance from either of them that has warranted one starting 100% of the time over the other. Don't get me wrong, before this I would have said Ben Chilwell all day long, but we know that Marcos Alonso is good in a 3, and if we're going to play with 3 at the back, obviously he's a perfect left wing back. You don't need him to defend. You basically just want, he's always the furthest forward up the pitch whenever he plays. Personally, I would like to see Ben Chilwell grab that and him be the first choice left wing back. I'd like to see that happen, but I think now that we're getting even further into like the most important part of the season, and we're still in the Champions League and we're still in the FA Cup, and I just think you are going to see, whether it's a case of so-and-so better than so-and-so, I don't think it is that. I just think it is Thomas Tuchel. I was told he always loves to rotate, and it's nothing against the players that he's got. And I just think when you've got equally as good right wing backs and left wing backs, then why would you not try and play them both? This is in as many games as possible. We've still got so many games coming up, of course, in the latter stages of the Champions League, which is massive. So, and you can play either one of them and still get like, you know, a good performance. So I think it just depends on the opposition really and what Tuchel does. But personally, if you ask me who I would rather see Ben Chilwell there.
He seems to definitely go with more starting lineups based on the tactical side of it rather than form, which is quite interesting to see as well. To really evaluate him, I think we always have to start from obviously the beginning. First of all, I want to kind of start with the media, because I think that's what everybody was impressed with initially with Thomas Tuchel, and obviously Chelsea picking up results from the off. His defensive record is ridiculous. I think it's 2 goals conceded now in 14 games. One of those was an own goal, so it's technically 1 goal really conceded from the team. From a team structure standpoint, only 1 goal really conceded. I'm guessing that would be everybody's strength, right, for Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea so far since we've seen them. I mean, just how impressed is everyone with the defence? Because a lot of the defenders, a lot of people are potentially looking at maybe we should sell them, or we should, you know, potentially bring in a new one, or look at players that come back from loan. Has Thomas Tuchel changed your ideas or your opinions on any defenders that we currently have, or did you kind of already know they were really good? I'll start with you, Jenny.
Well, Christensen has come out and really impressed me. Without Thiago Silva, I was a little bit worried about things falling apart in that back line, and I think he did a great job of stepping up and not missing a beat. So under Tuchel, I think that he really got an opportunity to show his stuff, and he's been doing awesome in that sense.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a standout. Maybe Rudiger as well. What would you say, Olivia, for the standouts there?
Yeah, I think it's really impressive how Andreas Christensen, I don't know if everyone thought he was done, but I remember up until that Barcelona game I was talking about earlier, he made the mistake. Up until that day, he was absolutely brilliant for Conte. He was so good in a back 3. And obviously it was a large chunk of the last few years where you haven't really seen much of him under Frank Lampard. And then, but like Jenny says, fair play to him for, you know, taking this opportunity properly, because I think Jenny said it perfectly that everyone speaks to every Chelsea fan when we say we were worried when Thiago Silva went off injured, and we were thinking, oh my God, how is this going to end? But fair play, and Rudiger's turned into an absolute world beater. I've got no idea where on earth that's come from, but he's turned into a player that we were going to sell him last summer. You know, we like Spurs wanted him, but obviously he didn't want to go there, and you know, pocketing Luis Suarez is hard. It's difficult. Like, no one in La Liga has been able to do it this season, and he did it comfortably, and he's up for a fight. No one wants to mess with him. And I think we've got like a really nice balance of like different, like Andreas Christensen's not the type that's going to be like up for a fight and going to be like getting in someone's face. But I think you've got a nice balance between that back line, and even Azpilicueta as well. We all knew what a player Azpilicueta was, but at right back, I feel like you were starting to see maybe a little bit of a decline just because of, you know, his age, and you've got someone like Reece James challenging there, but that right centre back slot is just perfect for him, and he's played almost every minute under Tuchel, I think. So it's just in a re-emergence of players that, and do you know what I think? I think it's more the formation.
I think so too. Yeah.
Like I'm not sure I can sit here and say I would trust them in a 4, like in a 2 at the back. I don't think I would trust someone next to Thiago Silva, but I don't know if I trust Rudiger and Christensen in a 2 together. And I think the formation, Tuchel's looked at the team and just gone, right, I've got the players that work perfectly for 3 at the back, so I'm just going to go with that, and I'm going to stick with it. And it's worked wonders for all of those players. But I think what will be interesting is maybe start of next season. I don't expect him to change it now, but whether he sticks with 3 at the back next season, or whether he tries to sort of implement his own, you know, 4 at the back if we have the players. So
yeah. So super chat here says, if Sheffield United had a clinical striker, we would have lost the game 3-2 or something. Wasn't the greatest performance, but I'll take it any day of the week. At the moment, you just take the win. Christensen has been so good. They've started to call him the Danish Maldini. I don't know if you've seen memes. He's been, you know, with sunglasses on, and then there's bars, and then there's like different strikers behind bars. I don't know if you've seen that meme as well. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I have. I've seen
Christensen, the AC penitentiary, and he's just like Felix, Rashford, all these strikers that we kept clean sheets against, just in jail. It's just, yeah, it's been brilliant. You know, it's been brilliant. And the thing is with Christensen, he's very clearly for me a confidence player. But when he is at his best and he's feeling confident, he is very assured. And I think the middle of the back 3 suits him perfectly. Like you said, I think the system kind of covers everybody. If you was to make a mistake, you've got cover. And it obviously allows him to marshal, and his positioning has always been good as well in the middle. I think Rudiger's been crazy. He's squaring up to players. I don't know if you guys got to see the little tuffle he had with Luis Suarez. He looked like he was going to eat the head off him. It was great. It was brilliant. Do you know, because we've all seen Suarez bite Ivanovic back in the day. And I thought to myself, this was revenge, you know. I was so happy to see that. And then just Rudiger in general, defensively, has been solid, bringing the ball out from the back, actually showing like real leadership as well, which was something that I worried about in this defense. So that's another massive positive. And Aspie kind of just always delivers, as he always does. Zuma was a player that, I don't know if you guys had worries if he might not feature, because he wasn't really starting. And then in the middle of the back 3, he has that, you know, mishap against Southampton. Tuchel took a lot of responsibility after that fixture as well. He said, maybe I made some mistakes with the substitutions. And that was really good to see from a manager as well. What have you guys made of him in the media? Because I think he's been incredible. Potentially one of our best ever.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, I've come out and kind of talked about on a podcast how I thought he handled the Cho situation so well. You know, you make decisions, but how you handle them in the media does affect how a player is going to feel and how the locker room then perceives you and will react towards you, or what you ask of them moving forward. So him establishing right away that things are respectful both ways, and he's not going to go out and disrespect them. And if he does make a decision, it is respectfully, not personal, and we can move forward from it. I think that when he came out and did that, I immediately had so much more respect for him. Being a past player, it matters that you're going to stand up for us. It matters that you also want to move forward. I'm not always going to be perfect as a player, as whatever. The manager's also going to make mistakes, but being able to say that and kind of take accountability and then protect your players, I think really, really made a difference. And it wasn't just that one instance. You know, he's shown that consistently.
Which position did you play, actually? That's quite intriguing.
I played winger.
Oh, wow. So Eden Hazard then.
Olivia wishes. Olivia loves him, right?
Everybody does.
I wish.
This fan base is infatuated with Eden Hazard. I was watching some of his old compilations the other day, and I was like, wait, why am I doing this? Like, why am I randomly on YouTube at 2 a.m. watching Hazard compilations? I was like, must be a Chelsea fan. So random. Olivia, what do you make of it?
I was really pleasantly surprised by Tuchel when I saw his first press conference. I didn't really know what to expect. Didn't really have too many like opinions on him. I thought he came across so well. I thought he was saying all the right things, and I think we've seen that. Like, it wasn't just like a case of first press conference, just going to sort of get in there everything that I feel like I need to say as a new Chelsea manager. But every interview after that, I've been excited to listen to. It was the same with Lampard. Like, I thought Lampard was a really good speaker. I thought he was really good in press conferences and interviews, and I thought he was really open and honest. And that's what you want as like in a manager. You want them to take responsibility for their part if things go wrong, if you just want them to be completely honest in what they're thinking. Like Jenny says, he was with the Hudson-Odoi situation, and that's all you can ask for. And I think he's only getting better. I obviously had the pleasure of speaking to him a few times, and you won't get like a sarcastic answer. You'll get like a genuine, unless you're asking stupid questions. Like
I remember they was asking. Was you in the press conference where they kept asking about food and wine and all these?
No,
things?
I think I was, but I think I'd left. I also was in the one where someone asked him about Olivier Giroud's style and how he's going to try and match it, and I was like, what? I was like, we've got a game on the weekend. Like,
you're the one person that asks the questions that like us on Twitter want to hear.
Well, that's the thing. I try whenever I go to press conferences, I always, obviously being a fan, I sort of know what questions fans want to ask anyway. So whenever I would much rather, obviously they've got to be tailored, and I would obviously not just pick a random question about where. So like, do you know what I mean? I'm very careful, but I liked it. If there's like something that a lot of fans say, if I put it on Twitter, and I think it's relevant to the game and relevant to the situation, which it always will be, I'll ask it. And then that way you just feel like other people are getting something out of the press conference, rather than just these journalists that are looking for lines for their columns.
Or just kind of maybe just try. It feels like sometimes they go in there to build a friendship. I'm like, you're going in there to ask the questions we need to hear. You're not going there to ask about who's having dinner dates and what.
Literally, I remember one reporter asking Mourinho why he hadn't followed him back on Twitter or Instagram, and I was like, how are you getting away with? And then this is the problem with like. This is genuinely, I think the problem where it comes to being a man and a woman, because if a woman asked that, she would be absolutely slated for asking a manager why they haven't. I think you'd be like, you could. It's not whether you'd be sacked over it, but it's something that would cause so much debate. Why are you asking a manager if he's followed you on Instagram? Can you imagine? But because a middle-aged man asks it, it's absolutely fine. And it's just baffling.
No, it's a problem.
Thomas Tuchel, I think
it's a problem. But Olivia, you do a great job of asking Twitter. I was a sideline reporter for an MLS club, which is like way different than doing so for MLS. I mean, sorry, for Chelsea. But you do a great job of asking the fans what you should ask, and I thought that was like really cool and new, like to be able to open it up and to not act like you know everything. And not saying that you don't know, but to be humble enough to be like, hey, is there anything that I might have missed that you guys want to hear about?
And genuinely, there are some things that I do miss as well. Like there just be, and sometimes I look at a question and think that's a really good question. Like that, and like that would be something that other journalists might want to know the answer to as well, because you only get one or two or perhaps 3 questions in a press conference. Some journalists only get 1 question. So they might, if they're relevant, which they are, and I'll make sure I pick good ones. But there's also stuff like you're not going to remember everything. You're not going to be like, do you know what I mean? There'll be loads of things you want to ask, but also, like you said, some things you miss. And I just think it's quite nice to open it up to fans, and they can also have their say, because it then feels like you've got to ask your question to Thomas Tuchel. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know that's a question you wanted to find out the answer to, and I just think that's quite nice. So for as long as I'm doing press conferences, I mean, it doesn't really work unless it's Chelsea, because most of my followers are Chelsea fans. I've got probably about 2% of my followers are any others, so it doesn't work with any of the managers. But I'll always do it with Tuchel and whoever the Chelsea fans.
I feel like the fans. That's one thing I've noticed, especially with Tuchel now. I feel like the fans, they feel like they've got that link to Tuchel through you. Like whenever you put your question, everybody just dives in, and just like the amount of comments is just nuts, because they know there's a chance that they might get their question asked, which I think is quite cool. Thank you so much, Zion, for the super chat. He says Billy Gilmore was excellent as well. I think he was. We're going to definitely discuss Billy soon, because he's definitely going to come up as well, because I remember Tuchel saying quite early on that he felt that despite Billy's ability, he was going to be bottom of the pecking order, and he said that quite openly and honestly, which was nice, because I'm glad he didn't string him along. You know, he didn't say, listen, yeah, if you keep working hard, then yeah, you know, he said, no, listen, you're bottom of the pecking order. That is unfortunately how it is. We've got a lot of seniors in your position, and that is the honesty of the situation. But obviously took responsibility against Southampton. The one we've obviously mentioned the strength. The one weakness I would guess with Thomas Tuchel's been up front, right? There's not been more than 2 goals scored in any game in this 14-game unbeaten run, which is, you know, I'm nitpicking. You know, we're unbeaten. We've only lost. Well, we've never. Of course, we've not lost. Jeez, what's wrong with me? We're unbeaten. But we've drawn a couple games. And yeah, we could have scored more goals, but that really is nitpicking. But as we get into the later parts of the competitions, we're probably going to need goals. We're going to need to be a bit more clinical because you never know when the defense might leak some goals. They have been outstanding so far. How do you feel like what would you apportion that to, the goals not going in? Is that Tuchel's system? Because a lot of people say the 3 at the back hinders it. Or do you think that's players not taking their chances and being out of form? What do you guys think it is, if you was to nail it down on something in particular that you'd want to maybe see changed as well, if you wanted to see more goals in the team?
Ooh, I think that you have to secure the back first. And I think we've done so. And then we can start to focus on the scoring aspects. Yes, I know everyone's getting frustrated with the fact that we haven't scored goals, but you can't win games if you're leaking goals in the back. So the fact that, you know, you would want to build a team from the back forward. I do think that second thing that you mentioned is it. Like the players are not clicking as much as we would like them to in terms of being in their best form. You know, we've had the situation with Werner, we've had Havertz, we've had Christian. All of these things have happened that we expect more of them. But I think it will come with time. You know, obviously that's all we can hope for. But the fact that we've secured the back means that we can now focus more so on that. I would hope so that in training that's what they're focusing on. Olivia might know more so what they are focusing on. But that's where you would be turning your focus to now that you have secured that back.
Yeah,
I would 100% agree. I mean, I don't have a clue what they're working on in training, unfortunately, but I think just Tuchel's first main thingy is if your defense is good, you're not going to get beat.
Oh, it's freezing a little bit, Olivia. Is it freezing for you, Jenny?
Yeah, Olivia, you're frozen for a second.
You don't concede, you're not going.
Yeah, it's freezing just a little bit. No, it's kind of freezing in and out. Maybe if you come out and come back in, let me see. Yeah, you might.
Okay, I'll be right back. 1 second.
Not a problem.
I've just put my charger in. I don't know if that's worth right.
There, we'll try it again. No, go on.
Is it just me? Is it?
Yeah, now it seems to be fine. Yeah.
Okay. What was I going to say? I was just saying. I think Thomas Tuchel has. I think from now until the end of the season, we won't see too much of a change in his attack. I think it's just up to them whether they do it on the pitch. But I think from now to the end of the season, it will still be a case of we might be a little bit boring. We're just going to play like we've been playing because we've been getting results. And right now, listen, we take that result yesterday. You'll 100% take a 2-0 win in an FA Cup quarter-final, regardless of how you play. Yeah. And you'll take a crappy 1-0 win or in the Premier League. But if you win, you win. It doesn't matter. And I think at this point in the season, the way Tuchel's come in and only had, 19 games, like you've got to be careful with what you try and do. You know, you'd rather have your defense solid and then you work on your attack, and it might be at the expense of another. Yeah. But you don't. Games like it might be entertaining, like scoring 5 and conceding 4, but we had that under Lampard and it wasn't actually that entertaining. It was scary, looking like we were going to concede at every corner. Do you know what I mean? And now it's, I will put my hands up. We've taken boring football before and it's won us trophies. So I'll absolutely take like playing like we have been and getting results. If we finish in the top 4 and get to a final or get to, do you know what I mean? If we have a good run, and we've already had a good run in the Champions League, I didn't think we'd
get past Flacco.
Yeah, like I don't know. When I saw that Atletico Madrid draw, I wasn't convinced. I put my hands up. I thought we were going out. But obviously then things change. And obviously things did change massively from when we got the draw to when we actually played them. Yeah. But like I said, I think hopefully next season you'll see more of a focus on the attack. But I think for this season, we're still going to just see the solid boring-ish. It is a bit boring to watch, but getting results, and I'll take that at this point in the season.
Yeah. Before I go to the stupid, I just think as well with these strikers, he's tried everything. Like he seems to just be trying every single type of combination he can to see what works, where there's chemistry, you know, where can we get the best players into the right positions. Kai Havertz has been tried up front, had a really good game against Everton. Against Leeds, didn't quite finish his chances. He had one that he skied over the bar, and then has a good game again against Atletico. Doesn't get the goal yet, but again, good performance. Ziyech is just starting to build up now. He seems to be having a good couple of games in a row. Same with Pulisic as well, assist in the Champions League, then comes in against Sheffield United and has a good game. So hopefully after the international break, these attackers are slowly getting into a situation where they are going to become serious about, you know, getting output. Because the one thing with these attackers, even Timo Werner, we just need some goals now. You know, Timo Werner's been playing quite well in a lot of the games. Very unlucky to hit the post a lot of the time. He's drawn a lot of penalties, just can't quite get the goals.
It's mad.
It's mad, isn't it?
And I feel like he's been the most unlucky player. Like, we know that he went on a run, and he was missing chances, and he still has been missing chances.
Yeah.
But, you know, I feel like there was a goal against Spurs, a brilliant goal he finished in the first game we played against them that finished 0-0, that was offside. The one against Liverpool most recently was the most frustrating one of them all. Just the run was perfect, the finish was perfect, getting there before Alisson. And I just feel like everything has gone against him this season. And he's one of the players that, out of them all, I've got absolutely no doubt that he's gonna come good and start scoring. I think genuinely. I think with the others, I've been a little bit more hesitant with Kai Havertz, only because I didn't watch him when he played in Germany. Yeah. So I didn't really have that much of an opinion on him when he came to Chelsea. So I can only really judge him on what he's been like. Obviously, I understand that he's got loads of potential and that everyone believes he's going to come good. But out of them all, I think Timo Werner was the one I looked at and thought, he scored 10 goals. He's got 9 assists. He's been involved in the most goals out of any Chelsea player this season. So. And it can only get better for him. So he's the one player that I'm adamant. Like, he's got the right attitude as well. Fine. Yeah. He's got the attitude as well. Which I've seen. His mentality's class. Yeah, I've seen that in a lot of his post-match interviews a lot. He's been very good.
I think that even if he's not scoring goals, he is leading the team on being on the front foot. You know, he is super aggressive. He is going to make all the right runs to split the lines. Yeah, he does need to put the ball in the back of the net, as we know. But I think that he makes a difference for the rest of the team and the intensity of the team. The fact that we have led in possession, you know, over 50% of the possession in all matches under Thomas Tuchel, besides the Liverpool match, shows that things are going right. They're going to be building up. Early on in the season, I mentioned that, you know, I believe Kai Havertz is going to be that player for Chelsea. He needs time. He's young. He's in a new place. He got COVID. I mean, there's so many things why, you know, he's not firing on all cylinders. Yeah. For me, that's the one that's going to work. You know, Olivia saying that Werner's her one that she thinks is going to like put it all together. Yeah. I see so much potential in Havertz, and like the little moments, his intelligence on the ball is
little flick over the defender one time there as well.
That was really nice.
Beautiful.
Do you know what? These are the first few games where I've actually watched Kai, and it's funny. I think how every Chelsea fan will have that one player, because I remember talking to Ellie pre-season about who we thought was gonna, and I said Timo Werner's gonna have the biggest impact, and she said Hakan Ziyech. So I think it's everyone will have their own little players who they think is gonna go on to be sort of that player. But I think Havertz in a 9 or a false 9, whatever you want to call it. I think against Everton, that was the first time I've watched him and thought, like, wow. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've seen tiny little glimpses here and there, like little touches he's done and little flicks he's done. But in that game, I thought I was really impressed by him. And I was really, really impressed by him in both games against Atletico Madrid as well. I thought he was really impressive. And like, we need to use his height a bit more as well. He's so tall.
Yeah,
and he's
so true. Yeah.
And I like, that's the thing. I can only base what I sort of know on how he's been, but it seems to be slowly that he's getting better. And it's been an off year, it's been a weird year, so hopefully next season. I think everyone forgets as well, he's 21. He's younger than Mason Mount. He's younger than Tammy Abraham. He's younger than all these players we call youngsters. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think there's
same with Pulisic. Pulisic's 22, I think, is he?
Yeah,
they're all very young.
They're all babies. They're all babies.
I'm like 5 years older than all these players.
I'm a year older than quite a few of these guys. It's actually I'm
5 years older than Kai Havertz.
5 years older than, oh God.
Yeah.
It's weird because
oh God.
No, but I'm thinking that it just reminded me how young this whole squad is.
Yeah.
Like they're actually children. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all like university students, if we're being real.
Yeah.
That's basically what this is.
Yeah.
It's mad. This is mad. Christensen is just made out of glass, but he's good. Would you bring back Ruben Loftus-Cheek? I would cash in. Can't lie, it's time to go. And Barkley as well to sell. It's very hard to judge what he's going to do with these guys that are out on loan because he hasn't seen them yet, right? So it's very hard to pass judgment on it. One thing I will say is that I think he seems to like the midfielders he's got right now. He's definitely got the best out of all of them. You know, Kante, Kova, Jorginho, they're all playing well. They're all protected somewhat in that three at the back system with the double sixes or the double pivot just ahead. They all look really good there. So it's going to take a lot for these players to come back into that. And I think back to the past where we had Lukaku out on loan. I know it's a different position, but Lukaku was out on loan at West Brom, Sturridge at Bolton. They had great seasons and still couldn't really get into the Chelsea starting 11. So Barkley and Loftus-Cheek, are they having great seasons at their club? I know Barkley started quite well. I haven't seen him in quite a while. Loftus-Cheek is very in and out of the team. I don't think they've personally done enough to get back into this team. I think Gallagher's probably maybe had better seasons than them, actually. So, you know, they're and we know Chelsea always purchase as well. So I wouldn't bank on it. But again, it depends on what Thomas Tuchel is looking for in that midfield. I really don't know where they would fit in, but it would be interesting to see. Rodrigo saying thanks to Olivia for asking about Havertz when we were wondering where he was and always asking about the team news. Yeah. There was a moment where Kai Havertz went missing. Like nobody knew.
Yeah, no one knew where he wasn't in training. Everyone was like, "Where on earth has Havertz gone?"
He just disappeared. Honestly, I was actually about to put up missing flyers. Like I was actually generally worried. I was like actually generally worried where he was.
Matisse, just quickly, the question before, I can't remember who asked it about Ruben Loftus-Cheek. He is the one player that it really angers me about how that situation happened and how well he was playing that whole season leading up to that Europa League final, and the fact that you're injured in a random friendly which we didn't necessarily need to play in. Because I don't, like I said, like you say, Thomas Tuchel will give everyone a fair chance. They will all come back in the summer and he will choose whether he wants them or whether he doesn't, but he will give everyone a fair chance like he has this season. So you never know with these things, but he's the one player that you look at, like he's had an all right season for Fulham, like nothing special. Ross Barkley started well, hasn't really done much. Like you say, I think Conor Gallagher's been the one that I've been so impressed with every time I've watched West Brom. And considering they're obviously down at the bottom of the league, I think he's been really impressive. And I think, I don't know if Ruben Loftus-Cheek will ever play for Chelsea again properly.
That is so sad.
I know.
He was one of my favourite players when he was playing.
Tell me about it. Like he was when I was at Fulham, he was literally running right in front of me, and I was just like,
see, I would have passed out. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but he's the one player that makes me really sad about how that whole situation happened and occurred, and it basically hasn't ruined his career. Obviously, he's got back to like Premier League level and he's playing, but I feel like the level he could have got to had he not have got injured would have been so far up here, and it's just such a shame that it now might not work out. Yeah,
I mean, Jenny, what do you make of Barkley and Loftus-Cheek? Because Loftus-Cheek for me, when he was under Sarri, obviously that was the pinnacle for him, but he was unbelievable. Like definitely Hazard and then Loftus-Cheek was my second favorite in that team. And then every time he scores, like you could see how much it meant to him. Like there was he was kind of like the Mason Mount of that team, you know, before Mason Mount got there. He was really extremely connected to the club. He's been there since he was like 8 years old or something. And you could tell, like, he's like similar to Kurt Zouma, where he got that massive injury as well, then went out on loan to Stoke and then Everton. Some players just do not want to leave. Like they are desperate to make it here. I see that with Loftus-Cheek. I mean, what do you make of Loftus-Cheek maybe in particular and Ross Barkley as well?
I think you hit the nail on the head. So I was fine with you passing on the question, because I agree. You know, I really did. I like him and rate him, but obviously unfortunate events. And he seems like such a good guy off the field in every interview. So I do feel for him. I'm not sure whether he does have a place on this roster at the moment, though.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's going to be very difficult to get back in. Zion, much appreciated, bro. Lots of super chats from you today. We aren't winning the Champions League without goals. Simple. See if Haaland was in this team this season, we would be smacking teams right, left. This is why a number 9 is so needed for next season. Praying emoji. With that being said, you know, one thing that stood out in Thomas Tuchel's reign, I guess, which is, I don't know if it's a negative or a sadness or how we want to take it, but Tammy Abraham is barely involved, and he is currently wearing that number 9 shirt. I think the 2 appearances that he's got, he's definitely been hooked off quite early. And then now he seems to be injured. Well, I don't know how injured he is, but that's what we keep getting, is that he's injured, or he's carrying a knock, and we haven't really seen him at all. I mean, where do you think his future lies, Olivia, in terms of, do you think he's potentially on his way out? I mean, he hasn't signed a new contract. Obviously, we're linked with Haaland basically every day.
I know. I really like Tammy Abraham, and I think his record since the start of last season it just proves that it's actually a lot better than people think, because no one can put a run together. We can't score at the moment. We very rarely score. So to put a run of 15 non-penalty Premier League goals is pretty impressive. And I think people overlook that. The problem is with the formation that we play is that because we play 3 centre-backs and 2 defensive midfielders, 2 midfielders, but Jorginho, and Kante, they're not exactly attacking midfielders, are they? So those players, that's taken up a large chunk of the team, which then allows only 3 players. Usually you can get 4, maybe sometimes even 5 if you played Mason Mount next to one of those 2 in midfield. So you've got, and we have, obviously, the money we spent last summer, we have now got so many attacking players and only 3 attacking positions. And I think Tammy's a difficult one because it all depends what Olivier Giroud's going to do next season. I don't know if he's going to stay on. He hasn't really got the time under Tuchel. When he has, he's been good, but he hasn't necessarily played. If they're looking for Havertz to be a number 9, and that just confuses things even more, because then you've got another player. Timo Werner can play as a number 9. Yeah. So it's too tricky. Like, would we miss him? Yeah, I think so. But would we be able to cope without him and score goals? I also think yeah. So I just think it's a really difficult position for him to be in. I think personally for his career, he would be better off going somewhere to a mid-table Premier League club and playing consistently. Going like an Ollie Watkins, doing an Ollie Watkins, and obviously going to Villa. You look at other teams that are strikerless that have struggled, and I think he'd be great. And there's Chelsea have a habit of letting players go and then paying stupid money to bring them back. So there's no saying that might not happen. But I think at his age now, he's one of the older ones of the youngsters. 24, 25, I think, something like that. So I think right now, if you want to, I love the mentality of wanting to make it at Chelsea. I love it. But you've also got to think realistically. And, if we are linked with Erling Haaland, if we are going to go and buy Erling Haaland, or we're going to be, do you know what I mean? You can understand why he would want to go. Yeah. And that brings us on, Jenny, to, I guess, areas of improvement for this team. Someone mentioned Erling Haaland as well. Is that a position that you feel like is the main priority for Chelsea to strengthen in from what you've seen under Thomas Tuchel? Is there any other positions that you think, okay, maybe we need a player here, or maybe even someone back from a loan? Is there anything that you think needs improvement from what you've seen so far? Because it's been almost perfect, but I don't want to ever say perfect, because anything can be improved, isn't it?
It's interesting because when you think of, what would be better, there's so many places that you can think of and make up in your mind. Erling Haaland on Chelsea, no one's going to say no to that. Nobody's going to say, no, we don't need him. He would absolutely be amazing for any team. And we would, Chelsea would love to have him. Whether that's in our cards or whether that's realistic, I don't know. I do think, Zion has a point that a very, very reliable goal scoring number 9 we would obviously prefer that at the moment. But I'm not so much against developing what we have right now. I do think that these kids are young, they're getting reps and they are improving, and they will find their form. Olivia's banking on Werner, I'm banking on Havertz. I think Ziyech has a lot of great qualities, and is able to score goals. Pulisic also. So yes, Yes, I'm going in circles because I'm not sure of my answer, but yes, we would need a number 9. I also do feel like maybe more so of a playmaking than Jorginho position.
I think Ziyech was meant to be that, really, wasn't he, for us, isn't he? And I think people underestimate how creative Kai Havertz can be as well. He did play sometimes as the 10 at Bayer Leverkusen and was very good with his passing, very creative. And then in terms of the finishing, like you said as well, I think Christian Pulisic, when he was on form, he was our goal outlet. Him and Giroud last season at the end of it. So when it comes to finishing, I know Pulisic has the finishing in him. We saw that finish against Manchester City, put Mendy on his backside last season, then kind of whipped it into the corner. So I think he's got gears to go into as well. So there's definitely, I agree with you that just behind that ruthless number 9 in Haaland, we have enough players like Kai Havertz, Ziyech, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic. There's so many players behind that I think they're all developing. They're either in their first season or they're quite young. That's the 2 boxes that they're ticking, or both.
There's enough creativity. There's enough creativity there to not go and spend loads of money on another player. But I think Hakim Ziyech is the player that sort of like a Juan Mata style player, not necessarily an explosive, quick, going to take it past 2 or 3 like Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi, but a player who can literally thread a ball through the eye of a needle. Like Mata was so good at it, and that's what I really liked about him when he played with Hazard and Willian, was that he was a completely different style player, technically unbelievable, technically better than anyone. That volley against Man United with a side foot that went in the roof of the net was unbelievable. And I think Hakim Ziyech is that guy. I think but again, it's the formation that, Hakim Ziyech, remember when we saw him and Reece James bombing down that right-hand side and overlapping one another and causing havoc for defenders. We don't get to see that too often, because when you're playing 2 number 10s behind a striker, Ziyech is then one of those number 10s, and his automatic sort of what he wants to do is veer out to the right, because he's always been a right winger and loves to come in on his left foot. But yeah, there's I think we need a creative player, but I think there is more than we have that within. It's just about getting.
They just need to show it.
Yeah.
I think definitely. As well, what we're looking for really the whole season is just a bit of consistency now from these forward players, because we bought them already. We spent a lot of money last summer bringing in these attackers. Werner, Havertz, and Ziyech were signed, and I think. I always say give them a second season, to show what they can do. Especially, not really especially, I think all of them kind of, Havertz has obviously got time on the clock. He was a long-term signing. Werner's quite young, but even Ziyech, Ziyech at times has frustrated me with, the fact that he can give the ball away. It can be quite frustrating, but he's fair play to him. Last 2 games, he stepped it up, and that's what I need him to do to continue to do, because I think Ziyech has the potential to be quite a senior figure in that attack, because he is 27, he is in his prime. So you kind of do expect the instant impact from him right now. And he has got the arrogance, he has got the it's a good cockiness that he's got about him when he's at his best. That's what I need to see from him, especially in the Champions League. He's used to that. Maybe in the league he's still adjusting, but in the Champions League he knows that competition like the back of his hand with Ajax. So I expect him as we go through in this late, end of the season run, I expect him to stand up now and hopefully be counted for. Someone saying here, why do pundits focus on Chelsea's opponents being bad when Chelsea win? Is there
I hate this.
Anti-Russian?
I hate this.
Jesus Christ, in the media.
But the first part of that, I'm going to ignore the second part of it. But
I wouldn't say the second part's true, but carry on with the first part.
The first part of it, I completely agree with, because when we played Spurs, when we played Liverpool, when we played Atletico Madrid, when we played Man United, it was all but the opposition weren't good. I was like, but the opposition weren't great. And don't get me wrong, that Atletico Madrid game, I did think it was as good as we were. They were equally as poor. But I think in the other games, you've got to give Chelsea a little bit more credit. Do you not think, Jenny? I just think that you can't go on a consistent run of beating all these big teams just to come out the end of it and be like, oh, well, the opposition were really bad, so you were going to beat them anyway. I think you've got to start putting a little bit of credit on. It's not a coincidence that you go and beat loads of big teams and just the opposition report. I don't think it works like that. Jenny, would you agree?
No, I think that the narrative is starting to change around Chelsea. Maybe more recently, with the draws coming up, people are starting, the pundits especially are starting to say, you don't want to draw Chelsea. this is not a team that you can just run over. This is not a team to overlook, which I think that you're right, Olivia. In the games prior, people were trying to shift like, oh, that wasn't a good team, instead of giving credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
It's starting to shift, though. I do hear the narrative of, okay, Chelsea is the real deal. And even, with Manchester City coming up, people are starting to say it is possible for Chelsea to beat Manchester City, and let's do it. So it's starting to change, but you're right, Olivia. It was incredibly frustrating at the beginning when there was no credit given.
Do you know what it was? Yeah, 2 points. First of all, when we had that run of fixtures coming up under Thomas Tuchel, everyone panicked. And even when we draw Man City the other day, I panicked. I was like, damn, Man City. And I said to myself, hold on a second. We're Chelsea Football Club. I know Man City are a great team, but we've been doing very well against the big teams. In fact, we've actually been dropping points against the lesser teams like Leeds, Southampton, Man United, teams like that. I had to get that dig in there. I had to. I have an agenda against Man United Football Club, just at the moment while they're playing the way that they are. Because when we played them at Stamford Bridge, that fixture nearly put me to sleep. Like, that was the worst fixture I've watched under Thomas Tuchel so far. And I don't really want to, I kind of just want to just in a biased way blaming on them, because every time they play an away game, away from home against a big team, they draw 0-0. So I don't really want to I don't want to put that on Chelsea's back. I feel like that was a Man United problem. That's something that you guys need to look in the mirror and fix up. Every single time we play a big team, you got to draw 0-0. But we had a very difficult run of fixtures, and we beat Tottenham away. We beat Liverpool. We beat Atletico Madrid back to back. And we've been really impressive. So maybe the bigger fixtures do suit us in Man City coming up as well. I also want to touch on what you said about, obviously, in this question, there was maybe people are saying there's a media bias against Chelsea and punditry in England. Jenny, how is Chelsea looked at in America? Because obviously in England, we're kind of looked at as the team that bought it all. We bought trophies, Roman's Empire. We ruined football. I think football's doing great since we arrived. But how do America look at Chelsea from a media perspective?
I don't want to claim that I know exactly how the media perceives Chelsea, but most recently they have been giving Thomas Tuchel tons of credit. I mean, week in and week out, after every single one of on this unbeaten streak, it is a topic on highlight shows that, hey, Thomas Tuchel is now 10 undefeated, 11 undefeated. Like after every match, they've been giving credit where credit is due in that aspect. I think they're maybe there's a little bit less of an agenda than in the UK, as we are a little bit more removed. And people do want to, here in America, report upon Chelsea because we have an American there. There is something to talk about when it comes to Chelsea, more so than other teams potentially. So I think that people do want Chelsea to do well in America, and so the pundits do speak in a positive tone towards it.
Zion again with another super chat. Guys, make sure you big up Zion in the chat. Clap for him in the chat. Send him a load of clapping emojis. He's been unbelievable supporting the show today. I don't know how many super chats he sent in, but much love to you, Zion. Very much appreciated, bro. And make sure you DM me on Twitter or Instagram and let me get you modded up. I don't know if you're a mod yet, but let's make sure that Zion's a mod for the next show. He's been unbelievable today. And by the way, all the super chats that you sent in have been really, really good in terms of the detail and the questions and the points. Tammy must have fallen out with Tuchel because he left training before the game against Sheffield. That's why he didn't play yesterday. Okay. I think he didn't appreciate when Tuchel subbed him against Southampton. He's leaving. Jesus. Wow. I mean, I don't have any insight on that. All I knew was that Tammy potentially had a knock, which is why he wasn't involved. That's all I can take from the press conferences or the interviews. I mean, Olivia, have you got any inside scoops on anything there?
No. As far as I knew, Tammy was injured. I think Tuchel's always said in his press conferences, and you've got to sort of go on what they say.
What's being said?
You've got nothing. Like if you're going to go on rumors, then it's pointless. And I think that is just a rumor at the moment. Who knows? Tuchel might come out and say that he's fit for the next game. Well, we've got an international break now, so it's the perfect time, for all those players to go off, and he can recover from that injury if there was one. But I don't know if there was. I'm just going on what Tuchel said, and that was that he was.
From what I know about Tammy, and from what I've heard about him, his attitude is spot on. And I don't just say that just because his attitude is spot on. Like, he has probably one of the best mentalities at the club, in my opinion, from the racial abuse he suffered after the Super Cup online, taking the number 9 shirt, which was a highly pressurized shirt. People even said that it might have even had a curse on it. he didn't care. And he's always taken quite a bit of heat online if he's missed chances in big games. I remember the Tottenham game where he missed quite a lot of chances at home. We drew the game, I think, and Giroud ended up coming on. He took quite a lot of heat. So Tammy's, from what I can tell personality-wise and from what I hear, Tammy's personality is spot on. He's obviously going to be frustrated that he's not playing. Very highly motivated individual. You can see it on the pitch when if he does miss, he gets very angry with himself. He demands the utmost from himself at all times. But I don't see him, falling out with Thomas Tuchel, because I think one thing you have to understand with these players is that they've been at Chelsea since they were 8, 7, 6 years old. They understand that managerial, managers can change at this club. They didn't come here thinking that Lampard was going to stay forever. They probably hoped he would stay a bit longer, especially those academy boys that got a lot of the chances under him as well. They probably did strike up quite a relationship, but they didn't come to Chelsea thinking, yeah, we're going to have one manager and it's all going to be smooth sailing. Tammy was in the youth team when Drogba was getting challenged from Fernando Torres and, so many other strikers. Drogba never even had a clean path at Chelsea. He had so many world-class strikers challenging him. So I think Tammy understands how it goes. Some people say the game is the game and, hopefully he can break back into the team. But if he doesn't, like Olivia said, potentially he moves away. Hopefully even maybe put a buyback on that if we can, so we don't have to pay a ridiculous fee in the future if we do want him back. But again, people say about Tammy, if he goes, he's not loyal and all these things. Players have a very short career. They have to pick their path very wisely. I think you look at Lukaku, he chose to go and he's made a very good career for himself. He's at Inter Milan now, probably going to win Serie A. So there's so many different ways a footballer's career can go. And I think one thing with Tammy is he's going to definitely command quite a lot of money. He's top scorer last season with, like you said, not penalties as well. So he's not really stat padding. And I think he's going to command a lot of money, 100%, if they do choose to sell him. This super chat from OS. I'm sure Jenny's already seen this because I know she can see the chat. So if you guys think you're sly, Jenny, can you buy? Sorry, I mean Kylie Jenner. Can you buy Haaland for us, please? All jokes aside, big up the panel. Or should we sign a centre back? Jenny, I'll let you respond.
Do I look like Kylie Jenner? I don't think so.
According to the chat, and now a lot of people are giving that guy in the chat heat because they're like,
Jenny, you're much better looking than Kylie Jenner. 100%.
Thank you, Olivia. And I don't have as much money as her either, so I cannot for you. No, I agree. This has been a really fun panel. I appreciate you putting us together, Matisse, Olivia. It's been nice to have you to talk through. I think we have a lot of the same ideas, and we come from a media perspective, so it's not as negative or opinionated or with an agenda. Like, it's literally just like, I enjoy this, which I think people are maybe too emotionally attached to speak about it, I guess, at times. Yeah. Should we sign a center back? I don't think that would be the place that we're putting our money and focus on at the moment. Like I said, I think a number 9 or just letting these young strikers find their form and really, really investing in that.
Okay. And you know what? To be honest, before Tuchel came in, I would have said that, we should get a centre back. I think, we're lacking something there. Thiago Silva's getting quite on now in terms of age. And I feel potentially we could do with signing a senior figure to replace Thiago Silva, because none of the centre backs so far have stepped up as being that leader or that senior centre back. But if they continue with this form, I mean, they're setting a record that's better than Jose Mourinho's 04-05 season. So I can't complain. What about you, Olivia?
Yeah, I think I saw today that Chelsea and Thiago Silva have rumours, but they've sort of exercised that extension for a year, which I think even if he doesn't play every game, it's obvious that his effect on and off the pitch is ridiculous. So I don't think, like, do you know what I mean? If we were playing badly, conceding, you might be like, oh yeah, but I think genuinely the 3 centre backs are, that's the last of our worries, because you've got, if Azpilicueta drops out, I think Reece James could play as a right-sided centre back.
I think
as well.
So. Yeah.
You've got Kurt Zouma, who played really well against Atletico Madrid. You've got Rudiger, who's just being Rudiger. So you've got 4-5 centre-backs all in good form. You know, Thiago Silva's going to be great when he comes back in. So no, I don't think so. I think that shouldn't be our priority. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Apologies, Rodrigo. Just I can see you say that I missed one of your super chats. Put it in the chat again as a normal one. I'll look out for your name and I'll put it up on the screen. Just put up your question or your comment there, Rodrigo. Let me see it so I can. I'll be looking out for your name now. Zion says, I wanted City in the semi-final because we might face them in the Champions League final. So as a test for ourselves against the leaders of the league. So bring them on. And it's time Tuchel paid Pep a little visit at Wembley. I like that. I like the confidence. I mean, look, we're coming up to maybe the last 10, 15 minutes of the stream. How confident are you guys going into the rest of the season? Because we've seen now we're at international break. We're at a nice point where, again, I feel like the break comes at a really nice time for these players. Are you confident that we could get a trophy out of this season? You know, Man City is still in the competition. Man United, like I mentioned earlier, small fry knocked out against Leicester the other day. Leicester and Southampton are in the other semi-final. This is potentially, not to make any assumptions, but this is the two favourites coming head to head in the FA Cup. We've got quite a favourable Champions League run, which I want to get you guys' thoughts on as well. How confident are you that Thomas Tuchel could be lifting a trophy? There's been a lot of comparisons to the 2012 season as well. I don't know if you've seen this thread on Twitter that Dubois has done. He's a very funny Twitter account, but he's managed to put a thread of everything that happened in 2012 that's happening now.
Oh, that's awesome! I didn't even see that.
It's so
I'll send it to you if you haven't.
It's so bizarre. It's almost like identical things. It'll be like the last time we played, I don't know, Portuguese opposition, we won. Last time we played Spanish opposition in the semi-final, we could play Real Madrid. It's all very like but it's quite interesting if you go and have a look. It's quite funny.
Oh, you've seen it, yeah?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah,
no, it's good. I think also, I tweeted yesterday about the Man City game. I'm really intrigued to see how Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea fare against Manchester City, because easily the biggest test we'll have had this season. Don't get me wrong, Atletico Madrid are class, and defensively that was always going to be, a struggle whether we could be solid, keep them out. But I think as an all-round team, City have sorted out their defence. They're brilliant going forward. So I think that's going to be a real test. And I think I saw someone tweet and they said it'll be a measure of how far we've come under Tuchel. And I think that's quite the perfect sort of way to describe it. But City are beatable. Don't get me wrong. City are class, but they're beatable. Man United beat them 2-0. 2-0? Yeah, they did 2-0. Yeah, literally a couple of weeks ago. Spurs beat them earlier on in the season. Listen, we know how Chelsea are going to play. It's exactly we're going to soak up the pressure that Man United, and if we can soak up that pressure and not concede, then we're going to be in the game. It's not going to be high scoring though. I don't think. I think it will be one of these 1-0, something like that, just because both teams are so good defensively. But I'm sure there's, City will look at us and go, there's ways we can get past this side. And equally, there's ways we look at City and go, well, we know what we've got to do to beat this City side. So I think it's going to be a really good game. And I'm really excited to see sort of how we compare up against each other.
Yeah. Jenny, how confident are you going into these later fixtures? And what are your expectations of this team? Because we've seen maybe there's actually still more to get out of this team, despite the unbeaten run. I keep saying we're not even seeing the best of this side yet because the attackers are still not fully firing. I think once the attackers start firing, then you're going to see an even better Chelsea. So what are your expectations? What are you hoping for you used to put your hat on it?
I feel like we can win a trophy. I mean, it's tough and it's we have a ways to go, but what we have Premier League, Champions League, and FA Cup opportunities to win a trophy. And I feel like the way that Thomas Tuchel can prepare for a match and transmit his message to the players is incredibly effective. So if he has all that knowledge in his brain, which he clearly does, and he does, and he's able to show his team or his players how to do so, the way that we beat Atletico de Madrid kind of shows that the potential is limitless in that aspect. I feel really confident about it. I don't know if that's just, some sort of juju, because I work so closely with Chelsea and I watch so much Chelsea that I feel like they have such a big chance. I'm excited, as Olivia said, she's completely right, for that Pep Guardiola Thomas Tuchel matchup. I think that's going to be incredibly interesting. Yeah. I think you're right about it not being high scoring as well. The Champions League aspect, though, is interesting. I do think that there's a chance for Chelsea, and that's something that I wouldn't have said before that Atletico de Madrid matchup. You saw that they're able to adapt and play to whatever the opposition is. I don't know. I feel really good about it. Premier League is a bit more of a stretch by far, but I don't know. I think we can get a trophy. Am I being too optimistic?
No, I think you're being. I think it's very realistic that we can get a trophy. Obviously, I dream of the Champions League, the biggest trophy. I think we've got the perfect run to do it. Porto is a good draw. Obviously, we need to stay concentrated and do the business, but I would make us favourites for that. And then Liverpool, Real Madrid in the semis, again, perfect. I think two teams that have been struggling this season. Real Madrid have still got one eye on La Liga, so their attention might be a little bit diverted. Liverpool have been in free fall. And then the final, anything can happen. So I'm very excited. When I seen that draw, I did a massive celebration. I did a stream on it.
I literally, all in my WhatsApp groups, we were like, right, who do we want? We want Porto. That's who we want. We just wanted, I personally just wanted to avoid Bayern, Man City, PSG. I didn't want any three of them, and I wanted to avoid them until the final. And somehow we've managed to do that, because I think, like we saw in 2012, let's be honest, Bayern Munich were much the better side. They should have won that game. But in a one-off game, anything can happen. And it's the same with Man City in the semi-final. It's a one-off game. It's not two legs. I would much rather play those big teams in a one-off game. And you know, the only thing I'm gutted about is that if we get through against Porto and we play Real Madrid, I've been waiting for so long to get Real Madrid in Europe. And one time 1998, I think. I can't go. Like, I've been wanting to go to the Bernabeu to watch a game. Like, I went a few years ago when I went to Atletico Madrid, that stadium, but we did a tour. And I was just like, I really want to come and watch Chelsea here. And if we draw them, I'm going to be so gutted, because that was the one team I really, really wanted to go and watch. And, you know, Hazard as well. I wanted Hazard to come back to Stamford Bridge and get the reception he deserves. And it's just so gutting that it might happen in a season where no fans will be there to think it. But listen, you take it when you're a Champions League draw that avoids all of the big guns until the final, really, when you look at it. So I'm quietly confident. I don't want to get too excited and too ahead of myself.
Same.
It's the Champions League and anything can happen. But if you could have asked me the perfect way to get to the final, it would have been the one we've got.
Yeah. So someone also said as well that potentially we'd be playing at the Real Madrid's training pitch instead of their ground. I don't know where that came from, or if it's COVID regulations or restrictions or what, but that's why I read that on Twitter somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. So
is it true? Yeah.
For Champions League, I cover Champions League for CBS. Everyone's like, who is this chick? I did all my Real Madrid matches at Alfredo Stefano, so the training pitch.
Yeah, so Jenny covers Champions League games for CBS and does a great job, and also Chelsea USA as well, which I love that account. They haven't followed me back yet, but I'm not gonna do what the journalist did. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do what the journalist did. I'm just gonna wait. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna beg either. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter say, "Come on, follow us back." No, I'm just gonna wait until I deserve it. All right, when you deserve it is when you'll get it. That's how I see it. Rodrigo said, "Miss Super Chats. We need to bring some light to the Chelsea's women's team going on a mad run. So proud of our club. Maybe a Chelsea show in the future." That's actually a very good idea, Rodrigo. I really appreciate that. That's a stream that I think we can definitely do over the international break as well. Now, there's been a good period where there's a lot less games, and I feel like that would be a really good show to do. So I'll try and get some guests lined up for that. And see if we can get that covered in the international break. So thank you very much for that suggestion. Zion, this is his last one as he's out of here. Again, big up. Make sure you guys big up Zion in the chat. He's been unbelievable today, and OS as well. And like I said, hopefully DM me and he can get the mod function as well. We should give the likes of Tomori and Sa a chance next season. I'm out of here. Have a great stream, ladies and man. Great stream and great individuals. Much love to you, Zion. Really appreciate it. And I think we don't actually have control over Tomori, which is very sad, but he has an option to buy. Yeah, there's an option to buy.
AC Milan are 100% exercising that. 100%.
You think it's done?
You don't go to a club and play in a Milan derby about 5 days after signing and they not want to sign you permanently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just think, and I think I watched him against Man United and he was class. And I think we've missed a trick there. I think whatever happened under Lampard, I think we're gonna regret that one. You think?
Yeah. I think the only way I might not regret it is if we promote Mark Gahey from the Swansea team. He's been really good in the Championship. I think Swansea, last time I checked before, they're the best defence in that league. He's kind of dual-footed as well, plays in the same position on the left side of the three centre-backs. If he comes through and he proves himself to be of the level, then I might be able to stomach Tomori a bit easier. But Tomori is definitely a disappointing one because he had some really good moments. Great long shot in one of the opening games of Lampard's time as well. Little Cruyff turn in Amsterdam as well. So he's had some really good moments, which is a shame. And Sa, I think from what I hear, Sa's not actually playing regularly under Porto. He's in and out the team. And I think if I'm being ruthless about it, I think he was bought to sell on at a profit. He was bought for free last summer. And I feel like he's a player that, yeah, he could make it, but I feel like he's just going to be sold for a profit. That's kind of how they like to use the loan system to obviously bring in more revenue, to bring in those big name signings as well. So I think that's realistic from that point of view. OS says the problem with Man City is their depth. They literally have a whole starting 11 on the bench as well. Yeah. They do. But we also have depth. We really do. So it's a one-off game, like Olivia said. So it's not like their whole squad is gonna get on the pitch. You know, you can only make 3 subs, so we should still have a chance there. The last strength I wanted to bring up, I don't know how. I really want to get you guys' thoughts on this as a final point. Really, is obviously style of football, because some football fans really do. The style of football their team plays dictates how happy they are about the team. Even if they're not winning, if the style of football is good, they can buy into it a lot more than if the style is negative. And we, under Tuchel, you know, at times we haven't been able to put the ball in the back of net. We spoke about the 0-0 draw against Man United, which wasn't the best, but at other times we've been really good playing out from the back. The Atletico game, the counter press was brilliant to win the ball back very quickly. He's spoken about that. Building up from the back as well. Under pressure in that Atletico game, Mendy really did make some great passes. Some defenders as well, like Zuma, passing under pressure, building up from the back and going through Kovacic and Kante. How much does a style of football kind of influence you guys in terms of how you overall feel about the team? I'll start with you, Jenny. How do you feel about that?
I think the style of football, and people are going to totally come at me for this, may matter more than the result sometimes, especially with such a young team. Obviously, now we are on to the part where we need to win games to win trophies. So it's starting to obviously take precedent over the playing style. But the playing style does matter. I know I've already referenced this, but the Atletico de Madrid match, the pressing was so good. The goals that came from the quick counters, I think that's something that we can build off of. I know a lot of teams don't like to play defensively and then to score goals off the counterattack, but that's not exactly what we're doing. I mean, we're keeping so much possession. Like I mentioned earlier, having more than 50% of the possession in all of the matches under Thomas Tuchel, besides that Liverpool game, shows that that's not what we're doing. It's not like an Atletico de Madrid, you know, just defend and let them have the ball and then try to score. Very different from that aspect. That if that game is, you know, used as a key, I think that's a good playing style for what we have, for the players that we have. But I know that some people don't like that. Some people are not a fan of that. But I personally think that game is an indicator that that's the playing style that Chelsea can be known for and be very successful in.
Yeah, because a lot of people will say that this is not, and I've seen this in the media a lot, especially in England, this is not the Chelsea we're used to. Chelsea are usually quite defensive and they should go back to their old ways, and they should have brought in Allegri, which is what they were saying before Thomas Tuchel arrived. I mean, Olivia, are you happy with the way Chelsea are trying to change the way that they play football, I guess, over the last few years? Really, since Sarri and then Lampard, they tried to be more progressive and attacking. Is that something that you're happy to see, or do you not really mind as long as we're winning?
I like obviously it's nice to see, and you want to see your team playing nice football, like you just do. Like you would love to see you playing nice football and winning trophies that way, like Barcelona have done for so many years, like Man City have done, like Bayern Munich do. But you know, I just want to win stuff, and I don't care how I don't think we're necessarily playing defensively under Thomas Tuchel. I just think he sorted out our defense, and we're playing in a slightly different way, than like a park the bus sort of way. We don't do that under Tuchel. I think we're very clever about how we play. But you know, certain teams, if you try and play football against them, you're going to get beaten. And that's where teams like Arsenal came undone over the years when they tried to go up against Barcelona at their own game, and it's not going to work. You try and play the best footballing sides at their own game, they're going to beat you because they've got better players. And that's the thing. Like I don't care how we win. I just want to win. But like you don't like. I didn't mind it. You know, under Jose, you know, we were so good for the first part of the season. Then you take the 1-0s, the boring football for the second part because you've already done all the hard part and you win the league. And you know. I'm sort of. You always want to see your team play good football. Don't get me wrong.
I think the flexibility is what you kind of look for, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but like, don't get me wrong. If you're asking me now if I'd rather play awful, have 20% possession and win the Champions League, obviously I don't care.
A real shithouse performance, literally.
Yeah,
from the gutter. I think for Tuchel, I think he's been very pragmatic at times, which has been really good. You know, when we need to defend, he's made sure that we're solid. And I think especially when we haven't had the most firing attack, he's kind of had to make sure that we're solid defensively. Like Jenny said, you kind of build up the foundation from the back, and then you build the team from there. And this team hasn't been firing under Tuchel or Lampard, so you've had to make sure that defense is sturdy. And when we're 1-0 up in a game away from home at Anfield, and you know you're not going to get a second goal because we're not firing on all cylinders up front, you do get a little bit more pragmatic, and it's good to see the flexibility. We'll wrap up now as well. This stream's been definitely a long one. I guess final thoughts of how you would wrap it up, Olivia, in terms of your evaluation of Chelsea's time under Tuchel, and then obviously let the people know where they can find you. Anything coming up over the international break as well that you're working on?
Listen, I mean, you can't deny how good Tuchel, you know, he's come in, he's implemented his way of playing straight away, and it's been really successful. And I was always like, okay, well, you know, we beat Barnsley, we beat Sheffield United, we beat Newcastle, we beat Burnley, but I'm going to judge Tuchel after the tough run of games, and he has literally just wiped the floor with every single team he's played. You know, apart from that Man United boring draw, you know, we beat Spurs, we beat Liverpool, we beat Atletico Madrid twice, didn't concede, and like you, unbeaten in his first 13-14 games, and it's just ridiculous. And you know, long may it continue. You can argue now this is like the most important part of the season, so you know, the job he's done has been brilliant, but we have to keep it going because this team can't not get top 4 now. Like, we're in prime position. We're 2 points above West Ham. We've got West Ham to play in a few weeks, so it's in our hands, and you don't want to lose it with like 7 or 8 games to go. But yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised. Put my hands up and say, you know, I didn't expect this from Tuchel, and he's exceeded any expectation that I had of him. So yeah, it's been great. You can find me, my @'s there. You can find me on Twitter. I don't have a YouTube or anything like that. But yeah, and I'll be on fantasy. If anyone plays Fantasy Premier League, I'll be on there all week. I don't know what I'm going to talk about because it's international break. We'll find something to talk about.
I was just thinking, what are you going to discuss?
Not quite sure, but we'll find stuff to talk about. But yeah, because obviously I work for the Premier League, it's all relatively quiet for these next 2 weeks. But it'll be a welcome rest, and then we go again for the next part.
100%, yeah. And then we get to watch England versus San Marino. That will be fun. Jenny, again, final thoughts on the Tuchel's Chelsea's evaluation, I guess, of the squad and the manager, and just to round it up, and obviously let the people know where they can find you as well. Link will be in the description for your Twitter.
Yeah, I think I agree with Olivia on everything. More than anything, I feel like he's done really good with the media, like we had talked about earlier. He made it very clear that he was going to give everybody a chance from the very beginning. Nobody was like put on the side. If they were during the Frank Lampard era, he was letting everybody have the opportunity to prove themselves, which I think really revived everybody on the team. It's really nice to see. I like the fact that we're not getting scored on. Really, really lovely. And I think that we will, like I had mentioned earlier, build the team from the back forward. And I think that we're in for potentially a trophy this season. So I'm excited. I'm hopeful. And it would be my first season with Chelsea, and potentially, knock on wood, with a win with the trophy. But okay, so I'm Jenny Chiu. I think you had it up on my social media. I do have a YouTube. Now that Olivia mentioned.
Oh wow, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mexican Chew, which everyone seems to think that my ethnicity is very important, but it's Chinese Mexican Chew. And I just do like vloggy stuff, not necessarily.
I'll put that link in. I didn't know that. Fantastic.
And no, I had a lot of fun today. Thank you so much for inviting me, Olivia. You're amazing. I'm so glad that we finally got to chat.
Oh, thank you. So are you. I really enjoyed this. It's been really, really nice.
Fantastic.
Good little team.
Oh yeah. I see the channel here now. Yeah, I can see it. So guys, just wait for the stream to render. When it comes up on YouTube properly as well, you'll be able to leave comments. And I'll put the link to Jenny's channel as well in the description. I didn't know you had a YouTube, which is brilliant.
I don't do it anywhere, but I do. Yeah.
YouTuber and a presenter then. Best of both worlds, YouTuber and a presenter. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, that's basically the stream. Kind of evaluating Thomas Tuchel's time. As I always say, I would basically say that he seems to have all the traits of our of our managers in the past in terms of, you know, Lampard, Sarri, Conte. You can take maybe the best things out of all of those guys in terms of style of football, passion on the sidelines, good in the press, all of these things, and you can put them together and you kind of get Thomas Tuchel at the moment. The final super chat, OS, make sure you guys big him up in the chat as well. He's been sending in loads. How do you guys feel if Lampard sees us lift the Champions League? I'll kind of feel bad for the guy. Big up everyone. I think, listen, Lampard is he's a Chelsea supporter as well. So if he sees us lift the Champions League, if he sees Mason Mount and Abraham and you know, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Reece James, especially all those guys that he helped bring through, especially, and then the seniors, Azpilicueta has never won a Champions League. Thiago Silva, he had a great relationship with him, hasn't won a Champions League yet. If he sees those guys win the Champions League, of course he's going to be happy, you know? So that's just how it goes. You know, he's going to be happy. And guys, don't rule out that Lampard could come back one day. I know some of you are still, you know, feeling sad about it, but let him go and have his managerial career, potentially go to a Celtic or someone like that. I don't know, you know, what jobs are available. Let him learn the craft a bit more and come back when he's in his prime, and then we could get another stint. That's really all I have for you guys today. I'll be back later on with Battle of the North at 7:00 with Big Steve, Akeem, Blue Boys Network, and the rest of the boys as well. And we'll be talking about England, because England play now, and this is going to be great fun. I've seen the fixtures. It is just so easy, isn't it? I mean, I hope I see good fixtures, but I'm really going to be mainly talking about the squad, because some of the fixtures, I'm not sure if it's going to be that entertaining, but we'll see what happens. And then we look forward to Chelsea coming back against West Brom. I'll see you guys in a bit. Peace. Thank you so much, girls, for joining us.
Perfect.